My name is Professor Laura Jacquemet, and I'm a clinical audiologist and tinnitus expert. And I work as a scientific member at MindEar. And today I want to introduce you to how MindEar can help you as an audiologist in your tinnitus care. And I'm convinced that it can make your tinnitus care more easy. So let's immediately dive into what I want to tell you today. And that's actually to know more how to guide your patients on their tinnitus journey. And more importantly, how MindEar can be helpful to you to provide better and easier tinnitus care. So I will quickly introduce you to MindEar if you're not familiar yet, what it is, but then in the next step, how you can use MindEar in your tinnitus management and what can be the different steps and the different elements of that tinnitus management. So first of all, let me start with introducing the founders to you. Dr. Fabrice Bardi and Dr. Mathieu Reconnacht, they are the founders of MindEar, and they had a mission of making tinnitus care available also through different platforms and via a smartphone application in this sense. So what does MindEar do? MindEar really provides different elements as tinnitus is very heterogeneous and it needs individual care and personalized care. MindEar does that. So MindEar has a lot of different elements that have been proven to be effective, and it guides patients through their tinnitus journey with those different tinnitus management strategies. So MindEar, like I said, is a smartphone application that is at this moment available in North America, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. And I'm a researcher and a clinician. I find scientific evidence very important, and I expect probably the same from you. So it might be good for you to know, first of all, MindEar has been already very profoundly clinically tested and approved by patients. So in general, we can state that MindEar leads to a significant tinnitus reduction in 63 of participants. Like I said, tinnitus is heterogeneous, so we have to look for what works for whom. But I'm convinced that with all the different elements that are in the MindEar app, you can actually provide care for a lot of the tinnitus patients. So I just want to quickly guide you through two studies that have been conducted on MindEar so you know what's the scientific evidence behind it. First of all, there was this study in collaboration with Dr. Jackson at Leeds Trinity University, where we investigated the feasibility to deliver cognitive behavioral therapy for tinnitus sufferers using a chatbot technology. So CBT, which is the golden standard treatment for tinnitus, has been already studied through platforms on the internet, but what MindEar offers in addition is definitely the chatbot technology as well. So we want to see if the Tinnibots, that was the first name of MindEar. So if we're using Tinnibots, MindEar, don't get confused. We're talking actually about the same smartphone application, but Tinnibot has already been evolved to MindEar. So in this study, one group received the Tinnibot, so the chatbot CBT specifically for tinnitus. Group 2 received WooBot, which actually just delivers general CBT. It's not specified for tinnitus. And group 3 was a control group that did not receive any intervention. Main conclusion can you see here on this graph, where you can see on the y-axis the tinnitus functional index, and on the horizontal axis you see the evolution over time from pre-intervention until 8 weeks after the 8-week program. And then you see that actually Tinnibot makes the biggest difference. So if you compare Tinnibot with the WooBot or the control group, the Tinnibot group is clearly the one that is most effective. So tinnitus-specific CBT and general CBT don't have the same efficacy. And it is important to really make our care directed to tinnitus sufferers specifically. So that was why we continued our work with Tinnibots, the chatbot function, and we did a second study. In our second study, we looked if video conferencing with a psychologist in addition to the MindEar app could be beneficial. So one group received only Tinnibots, the other group received Tinnibots, but also online psychology. And what we saw from that study was that internet-based delivery of CBT with Tinnibot was effective in decreasing tinnitus distress, levels of anxiety, and levels of depression. The addition of the telepsychology that might have been beneficial, but clearly not essential to treatment. Because when you see at the 16 weeks point where we evaluated their complaints again, 64% of patients were clinically significantly improved in their complaints. So we saw that in the beginning, at the 8 weeks point, there was a bit of a difference. Then telepsychology was already making patients easily getting better or faster, maybe. But in the end, at 16 weeks, they were both there. Both groups had the same efficacy. But of course, we continue our research as well on MindEar, and we want to see maybe for some patients, it is beneficial to have additionally video counseling with a psychologist or other additional care. So that's definitely something we keep continuing. But if you want to have a look at this study, it has been published in January. So you can read all about the study details and on the results. But of course, okay, nice that it's scientifically proven. But what is this MindEar app? That's my goal of this video, to give you more an insight on what is in the app and what are the different treatment elements in there. So first of all, let me say that people really can create their personal journey in the app. So you can really personalize it to your needs. You can use the soundscape libraries for sound therapy, where you have a lot of different options in sound, but also in visuals. You can have a go at guided mindfulness and meditation. But of course, also the CBT is the main part of the treatments and in the app available through the chatbots, or patients can have also the possibility to talk to a tinnitus expert individually or in group. No worries, this is just a general overview. I will immediately dive into each of these aspects specifically. So of course, this is just a general overview of the different elements that can be beneficial to tinnitus patients. And of course, hearing aids are part of that treatment, but that's something we cannot deliver with a smartphone application. So I will not be talking about hearing aids. Probably if you're watching this video, you know even more about hearing aids than I do. So that's the specialty of audiologists. But what we can deliver in addition for you is the three other elements: sound therapy, counseling and CBT, and relaxation and mindfulness through the MindEar app. So first of all, sound therapy. What is it? If you're not familiar with it, we often compare it with what you would do, or the theory behind it. You can compare it with visuals. Visual is always easier than auditive stimuli. So if you're thinking about a candle and you perceive the candle as very bright and hard to ignore in a dark room, but when you turn the lights on, the perceived brightness greatly reduced and the candle becomes less noticeable, or you might not notice it when all the lights are on. Tinnitus is like that. When you put tinnitus in fully silent, also tinnitus is very bright, very present, and hard to ignore. But when you add different sounds, sound enrichment, like we like to call it, tinnitus becomes less noticeable. And this process is known as habituation. Your brain is able to bring the tinnitus more to the background, and that with the help of extra sounds. How do we do it in the app? Like I told you, there is a whole library of different sounds. People can really play with the sounds and individual the sound to their preference. It really depends on the tinnitus sound and just their personality, which sounds they will like. So it's nice that they can really play with it because not one sound will work for everybody. And like I said, there is also nice visualizations to really get also in a relaxed mood. So there's a whole library available for tinnitus patients in the MindEar app. Secondly, the counseling and CBT part. What can you expect from that? Well, bottom line is that we know that the way we think actually affects the way we feel and the way we will act. So if we can change how we think, it can actually change also how we feel. And that is the key principle of cognitive behavioral therapy. We're going to target the thoughts that patients have, which are often negative and not very constructive or not very helpful thoughts. And we're going to help them reframe their thoughts to more helpful behaviors. And I will give an example of that in a minute. Um, Besides that, we're also going to advise patients on um, reducing their avoidance behaviors. So bringing them back into their old lives, bringing them back at steering wheel of their own life and not the tinnitus that is controlling every step that they take. So really trying to bring them back in the life that they want to like to live. And so in the app, patients can start chatting with the chatbot. And the chatbot will just start a general conversation on how the patient is feeling. How are you feeling right now? Well, might be that you tuned in because you're not feeling that well. And then the app will ask the patient, okay, what happened that made you feel this way? What was the event behind it? Because we are very good at saying how which emotion we feel most of the time, um, but we're maybe not aware of what led to that emotion. So maybe this patient had a terrible night and is exhausted. Well, that is the event, but what is even more important is what is going through the mind of the patient. What are the thoughts that the patient is having? And then the patient might say that they're scared that the tinnitus is getting worse. Well, then the chatbot is trying to help you to identify mistakes that you're making in that thought. We don't know what the future is going to hold. So we as humans often think of the future, and that's not very helpful. So the app might, for example, help you to identify, hey, I'm doing future thinking. Um, I should be in the present. How can I reframe that thought? That, well, we don't know what tomorrow is going to take, but for today, I can handle it with the help of MindEar, for example, and so on. So I know CBT is not so easy to explain in a few minutes, and really have a go on other webinars and masterclasses we're providing if you want to know more on what CBT holds. But bottom line for you to know is that CBT is going to target the thoughts that patients are having, reframing them so they feel better in the end. And we do that through the chatbot function, but also through group sessions. So when you would advise a tinnitus, the MindEar app to your tinnitus patients, they also have the possibility to join our group sessions. And we provide different group sessions on different topics. 2 sessions on sound therapy. First of all, how to use sound therapy, at which volume, which is often a challenge for patients, and how they can maximize their benefit from it. 2 sessions on CBT, one on exploring these negative thought patterns that they're having, so identifying the thoughts and the thoughts mistakes that they're making. For example, another mistake is all or nothing thinking. It's always like this, or it's never like this for me. And then to learn them reframe those thoughts. And then there's still one session on the neck and the jaw tension, as we know that somatic tinnitus is very prevalent, and that it might be helpful to get into some relaxation exercises, for example, for that. Sleep management, as of course, it's a big complaint of tinnitus patients that in the day they're busy and they can sometimes cope, but in the night it's more difficult. And lastly, on mindfulness, which is important as the way we are thinking and the way we're acting is influencing the effect that tinnitus has on us. So if we can be more mindful and in the moment and more focused on other stimuli, that is very helpful. So, sorry, I skipped some slides here by accident. What is also available in the app next to sound therapy and counseling is relaxation and mindfulness. So in the app, they can put some guided exercises on that help to relax them or help them to engage in a mindfulness exercise. And they can combine it also with the soundscapes that they like. And that helps them to also manage the stress throughout the day. And we know stress is a big factor in tinnitus. So if we can help them also manage their stress better, that has very often a very positive effect on their tinnitus as well. Lastly, just for your information, patients can also have access to extra informational videos in the app, podcasts, webinars, and so on. So there's a lot of extra information for the patient there because they often have a lot of questions and a lot of worries. And so we tackled a lot of those questions in webinars and in podcasts. And also good for you to know, we have a YouTube channel where a lot of this information is freely available. So you and your patients can also have a go there and find more out on tinnitus. So I hope this made clear what MindEar is, that MindEar is really scientifically based, not only by the founders that are both doctors, but also by the scientific evidence behind it, that there is a lot of different elements in the app that can help your patient from sound therapy through CBT, through relaxation exercises, and even extra information there. And I'm convinced it can be very complementary to your service that you're already giving. So if you're thinking, yes, I want to help my tinnitus patient better, but it's very complicated because I don't always have the time for it, or maybe not the knowledge to help them further, well, then you can register to our clinicians program. If you just go through this website and register, you will receive a referral code for your patients. And you can give that referral code then to your patients. And with that code, they receive a 4-week free trial to MindEar. And I think this is a really nice way on how we can work together and make our tinnitus care for tinnitus patients better in the end. And I'm convinced that's the goal of everyone involved in tinnitus care. So register to our clinician program, get a referral code for your patients, and get started with it. And hopefully you will see soon the benefits of it. If you want more information, we're providing more webinars, more master classes for patients, but also for you as audiologists and clinicians. So follow us on the different channels on LinkedIn, but also on YouTube and so on, and follow all the things we're doing. And hopefully we see each other soon in the future for maybe another informational session. So good luck there and have a good day.